Welcome to Paranormal News. That's right. This is the flagship for Paranormal News. I know normally this time you hear Discovery Paranormal. I decided to kind of make a new show in addition to Discovery Paranormal. Of course, Discovery Paranormal will always be out there doing interviews, talking about interesting subjects, but a weekly show that just talks about the paranormal news for the week. I like that sort of thing, and it's not really out there as much. So I figured I'm going to provide it, and we're going to talk about these articles, and we're going to have a good time with it. And you know what? Whether it's UFOs, whether it's ghosts, I don't care if a Bigfoot ran naked past your house, whatever, man, naked and hairy. So there is someone out there offering like a $2 million bounty on Bigfoot. You know that like $2 million. I don't know, man. You put that $2 million bounty with some drunken rednecks with some like guns and the wrong tall, big-footed, hairy guy in the wrong place at the wrong time, you could have a disaster. Disaster. So, first story that we want to get to. Alleged UFO sighting at Skinwalker Ranch, right? Brandon Fugal's eyewitness account on Jessup's Journal. Now, keep in mind, I know nothing about Skinwalker Ranch other than the fact that, I know that there's a show out there. I don't even know a channel. I guess it would be on a history channel or something like that, since they kind of get into that. But this is all cold reading to me. So, and I understand what skinwalkers are. I've had not myself a skinwalker experience. I got to hear a third-hand experience that my friend's father was driving his pickup truck in New Mexico. He's lived in New Mexico from Shiprock down to Gallup. All right. And there was a stretch back in the day, they called it Route 666, the Devil's Highway. And it really is, because it had a lot of real hardcore twists and turns, because I drove on that road. I went up and down 1990, my Firebird, man, and I was like flying around these turns. It really is like that kind of thing, but it's got a lot of weird energy. I'll tell you something. I wasn't really into, I was young, man. So at that point, I wasn't really into the whole paranormal thing. I mean, interested, sure. It wasn't a mainstream thing. So, I mean, if you were into the paranormal back then, 25 years ago or whatever, you were considered a freak. 30 years ago, long goddamn time ago, you were considered a freak. You're like a freak. And the guy's really scary, freak, but still people still people are like freak. No, I mean, it's more acceptable now because it's on television, mainstream. You got the Taps guys, and they got into the whole ghost hunting thing. Roto-Rooter guys, very, very basic, very lowbrow, entry level paranormal investigation. Two yahoos that did Roto-Rooter that just had some kind of lust for doing this, and I'm glad that they did, because they actually opened the door for a lot of people. So we celebrate Taps on the paranormal news, man. Even though with me, I understand that nothing gold can stay. You know the poem, "Nothing gold can stay." So I think that when you're in your moment and you're living your 15 minutes of fame, that when things go to your head or you get too soft, you morph and change it, and then what made you alluring to begin with is gone. It might be just a sliver, and you're living off of the notoriety of the person that you were rather than the person that you are now. That's my Dr. Mike. Dr. Mike is telling you this. So anyway, I know this dude, he tells me his friend's dad is in a pickup truck, big dually, right? You know what a dually is, dual wheel in the back. He's a farmer type, up there in northern New Mexico. All those guys got giant trucks, right? On Long Island, if a guy has a giant truck, he's compensating for something. You know what I mean? You know what I mean? You know what I mean? Out west, if you don't have a giant truck, you're at a loss, because they're always hauling something big. Like they got all. You go out there, they're like big stuff, and I think they just haul the haul, just because if you don't haul, you're kind of lesser of a dude. I know one time on my Jeep, I had some canoes up there that weren't even mine. I felt like more of a man. I was like, that's right. I went to store parking lot. These girls are looking at me. That's right. I'm a mountain man, girl. Look at that canoe. I can take that thing up rivers, down lake, maybe ocean or something. I don't know. Whatever. That's right. That's my canoe. But people are hardier out west. I like that, and they look down on people from like the cities, or like New York or Long Island specifically. That they think Long Islanders aren't tough, and like we kind of have nice clean hands with nice good nails, whatever. We're not as rugged. If you think of terms of rugged as dirty, I'm not looking to insult anybody, but I look at it as a kick-ass level. What's the level that you can really defend and kind of ward off the assholiness that's out there? That's what I'm talking about. And I know some little unassuming, tough-ass people in Brooklyn, New York, that the biggest, baddest cowboys would shiver. They turn to that Brokeback Mountain. So maybe I'm not going to judge people in terms of weakness and strength. To me, weakness and strength is really where your head is at, man. On the individual. I'm sure that you know what? I like the people that get into the outdoor sports. That's kind of cool too, man. It's appealing to me. I'm an X Games kind of guy. When people like I used to be into dirt bikes and all that stuff. Long Island, it was always illegal. Like you couldn't do anything, man. On Long Island, it's illegal. Have a dirt bike, or you couldn't have any kind of dune buggy drive on the beach, man. Nothing. Everything illegal. So when you grow up like that, you feel constricted, and then you go out into a land where everything is not illegal necessarily. The things that you've known to be illegal, not illegal. You go out west. I think you can buy a handgun with a driver's license. A lot of places out there, there's all kinds of stuff you can do. But there's lots of land too, and there's lots of wide open spaces. You don't feel as confined or constricted. Even the cities out there aren't as bad, because then you drive a few miles outside the city and you're like in the dense country. You're not in some packed in neighborhood. When they force people to live so close together, and force is a tricky word, because it's more of an economical force than the choice of the person. I think that if your average person could choose what land you want around you, people would definitely go for at least an acre or more, man. You want to have elbow room. You don't want your neighbors on top of you. But then you see like housing projects, big apartment buildings, people are stuffed in there, and I don't think it's good spiritually, man. But that's our society. And then think about, that's just the United States. United States is known for having a lot of room. I have friends from Japan who have moved here, and they couldn't believe in the city, New York City, how much room there was and how much space and how easy it was. Because in Japan, people are packed in like sardines. So you got to look at the space and the place of overpopulation. You talk about all the people that talk about it's turning into like more of a paranormal news show, but it goes in that line because it's about energy. All the people that talk about global warming never talk about overpopulation, and it's just mind-boggling to me. That they don't condemn the 7+ billion people going on 8 in this world. That how fast that numbers increase, and all those people are going to need food and water and all kinds of stuff. They're going to make fumes, exhaust, whatever they do. They're going to fart, and they're going to put that up in the atmosphere. You know what I mean? And it's just kind of funny when you sit back and you listen to the rants of these people are all the same. So Skinwalker Ranch. This guy's driving down from Shiprock. He's about halfway. There's a really cool little gas station type of place. I don't even think it's a freaking gas station. It's like a grocery, like in the middle of the mix, man. And, real old phone outside, dusty, tumbleweeds. If you want a West experience, you want that road, Route 666. It's called like 491, or I don't know what it is now. They named it something like that. 451. from Shiprock down to Gallup. Actually goes past Shiprock, and I had a friend up there. That's why I went up there. I didn't go up there looking for skinwalkers. I went up there looking for my friend Tommy, and he worked for an oil company. And that was the days of no internet. Could you imagine that? No Google, no nothing. I had triptychs, man, from AAA. That's right, some triptychs. And this guy was in a town called Farmington, which is, I don't know, northeast of Shiprock. But Shiprock is this gigantic rock that looks like a ship. There's a lot of things out there that like geologically don't make sense. You have these bluffs that come out of nowhere. The geologists don't know how they were formed because the land around it is not indicative of the same thing. They don't know. So Shiprock in that area is like a big volcano, like defunct, if there is such a thing. And there's a lot of weird energy that comes from there. So this dude, nighttime, he's going down to Gallup to, I think he was going to go down and pick up his son or something like that. It was late at night, maybe 10 or 11. He's going down the road, big, giant dually, and he says he's going about 65 miles an hour. He sees in his mirror, like this big-ass mirror on the side, that there was something running up next to him. Like running up next to him going 65 miles an hour, and it was like the height of a man. It was tall. So, they got like mule deer out there and stuff like that. That's pretty big, and other things, I guess, but nothing that I would think that would be that tall and could run. Mule deer ain't going to run 65 miles an hour. So, you know what? The guy was being chased by something. This thing ran up to his truck and was clawing at the door and like banging at the window and like looking like, ah! And he looked at it and he said it had like wolf's eyes and a furry face, but like a man's face and had a man's body. And then he just sped up, 75, 80 miles an hour. He lost it. And the guy said that he was like just flipped out and he just was going 80 or 90 miles an hour down the road until he got to Gallup, where like he pulled into a gas station in Gallup, one of those bright gas stations, and then there was blood on the outside of the car and there was claw marks in the paint. So you decide. And these aren't people who tell stories to tell stories. This is the lore of the land. You go out there, you're going to talk to people, man. I was just out there. I was just out in Utah, northern Arizona. I went from Flagstaff in Arizona, went all the way north, all the way up there, right through the northern rim of the Grand Canyon, and through Utah from that point. That's like big country, man. When you're out there, things are big, and sure, people see all kinds of stuff. It's a big freaking sky. People experience all kinds of stuff, and the energy is just like woohoo. Since I've come back east, I have not felt the same energy or feel the same way. Things taste different. Things are different, and my plans are I'm going back out there. But I'll tell you something. When you get into that, it's not mysticism either. It's the real deal. You listen to stories about skinwalkers, and these are like witches who are Native American, like this certain type that, and they're considered evil because they shapeshift and they do all these things and whatever, man. And it turns out, see, now at that time, like I said, there's no internet, no way to corroborate anything like that. If people have seen a skinwalker, only my friend Tommy, who worked for that oil company, and like all those people up there, talked about seeing them out in the oil fields and having experiences when they were like vulnerable or whatever, and these things came around and that type of stuff. So sometimes they could appear as a beautiful woman, and they try to seduce these guys as like some siren thing, man. It's not just the wolf face trying to claw and get you. So, and it's funny, the guy, those guys have guns in their trucks too. He couldn't even fondle the gun and blow that thing away, man. If that was Brooklyn, that's why there's no skinwalkers in Brooklyn, man. That's why you only find them in the annals of New Mexico, where it's safe. New York City, a skinwalker get all kinds of stuff. People, taxi cab run over you or bus, or people just rob you. They rob a skinwalker. Turn out your hairy pockets, man. Get the hell here. So yeah, you don't have to worry about that there. You don't hear about that big mysticism. Yeah, ghosts and things like that. Yeah, In New York City, definitely. You know, I know people who work at Carnegie Hall as security guards, man. Like, you know, they contacted me and they were like, well, we got this going on. And again, at the Broussard Theater, another one that people walk on the stage in the middle of the night, these ghosts and whatever. I'm like, take pictures, 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 man. You know? Anyway, Skinwalker Ranch. Does that Skinwalker story scare you? Hoo ha ha ha. Hoo ha ha ha. You know what's more scary than skinwalkers? Are the people who live out there in the middle of nowhere, like that's like 50 miles from somewhere. You are the just people there. I'm like, oh my god, because yeah, they're they're lonely, I think, and the conversations with them are quite interesting. So, all right, here's the story. There are some things that can't be explained in this episode of Utah Success Stories. You'll see a preview of nearly a 30-minute interview with the owner of supposedly cursed land in Utah, Skinwalker Ranch. That is subject. So yeah, it's on the History Channel. So legend has it that the supernatural activities occur on a piece of land surrounded by the Ute Indian Reservation in the Utah Basin of Utah. Brandon Fugel bought the land 5 years ago and brought in a team of scientists and a camera crew to see if the legends were true. What's the thing that he now knows is that he didn't know before that surprised him the most is that he bought a ranch as a skeptic, as a healthy skeptic, and he had never seen a UFO, a ghost, an orb, or anything is sort of that thing in his life. And he disclosed that to the previous owners. Fugu claims that he and his team have experienced unexplained phenomena. So he said, I asked him, so did you do one of those? Did you see that? His reply was, we're in shock. We were in complete shock. It all caught us off guard. To this day, I'm surprised. He continued, this 512-acre assemblage has become really the site of not only global interest, but more scientifically studied paranormal hotspots. So, I mean, I'm breaking from the story. This is the type of thing, whether, you know, I mean, yeah, it's on TV. When things are on television, you have to understand that people need to come up with content constantly. You don't want episodes where you have paranormal investigators walking around with their hands in their pockets, you know, unless they look good or something, right? Unless they have some kind of allure, you know, and you want to watch or listen to these people talk or whatever the hell they're doing. You know, so typically you go into a situation where it's active, you know it's active already because you're being called into that situation. You're not just going looking in random places. Yeah, some people do that. Like, I've never done that. I've never walked into a random place. It's always been a feeling or mainly an invite of people that have trouble in their home or are trying to understand what's going on, and they call people in that know a bit. And I'm not going to say I'm a professional. I'm not going to say I'm an expert because I don't believe in that. I don't believe in that for the most part. I mean, those words are kind of, they're fluff for hardworking individuals who are investigators, and not every investigation is the same. You know, no matter what you're doing, whether you're looking for UFOs or you're looking for ghosts, or you're looking for Bigfoot, I don't know what the hell you're looking for, right? It comes down to you, the experience, the data, the input, the process, and the output of what you're doing. No matter what you do in life, that's all that there is: input, process, and output. You know, so it's what you do in that process, man. And I like the fact that there are people who are out there who are doing legitimate scientific work, because that is going to bridge the gap that we have with this cosmic equation between what overdeveloped life forms and underdeveloped life forms try to communicate with each other. You got a cat, the cat's hungry. The cat tells you, meow, whatever. You get into a routine of communication between you and the cat. You can't speak cat language. The cat language can't speak English. They can have a good vocabulary. Dogs can understand quite a bit of words. You know, some dogs smarter than others, right? So, and then it comes down also down. Mainly, I think it's emotion. You know, it's they know how to read your face, but they don't know what you feel. You know, I mean, it really comes down to that, right? So, same thing for higher developed life forms. If they're trying to communicate with you, and you know, you're like a very low level of slime compared to them, perhaps, you know, or just a life form. Yeah, you're like the cat or the dog. They have to be able to not only communicate, but really make it in a way that you understand. I'm not going to talk about like crop circles, and I've seen all these things. In my opinion, has nothing to do on the stories necessarily, even though these stories I'm going to talk about are going to be laced in my opinion. But you could decide for yourself what things are. You know, if there were that kind of life form, would they really dumb it down and communicate in a crop circle? I can see if they're doing some artwork unto themselves, because any advanced being is still going to be a creator. We're creators. Every human, we create. Some of us are artists, we paint. Some of us are artists, we take photography. Some of us make music. Whatever we do. Some of us just create garbage. We make trash every day, bags of it. But we're creators. You know, and you think that all life is going to be like that. You think a cat is a creator, a dog is a creator, you know, so it really comes down to that level of intelligence and what you do every day and what you strive for. So anyway, this guy's on the Skinwalker Ranch. This is what they experienced. He said, I was surprised at how open he was to tell me the story. Those first 6 months of owning it, the Skinwalker Ranch, I really saw nothing myself that would lead me to believe there was anything unusual. Well, that all changed. I had with multiple witnesses with me on occasion where we saw what can only be described as an unidentified flying object, a craft, a 40, 50-foot long silver disc hovering right above the mesa, right in front of us. This wasn't just a blinking light in the sky or something that was a little ambiguous. This was a solid object that appeared out of nowhere, that could move in the blink of an eye, and over a 20-second period perform maneuvers that I believe defy any propulsion physics that we are acquainted with. So he got an eyeful. They all did, of what this thing could be, right? So he continued this 512 acre. Right? All right. So, all right. Basically, everyone's got a story, right? When you're in this world of the paranormal and people are selling their place, selling their ranch, they want you to come. Everybody's got a story. You know, it comes down to what happens for you, what you know, the purposes. See, and it comes again to me. If you describe this silver disc was up there maneuvering for 20 seconds, it wasn't up there for them. It wasn't up there showing off. And if you think that any kind of advanced beings would definitely cloak themselves and keep themselves from people, they've been pretty crafty at it. Yeah, people see things in the sky, they take pictures of stuff in the sky, all kinds of stuff. Sure, it's been reported for thousands of years. It's been painted in pictures. There was an alien battle over Germany. You know, oh, these crafts that were shooting at each other, crashing to the ground, and then a big arrow-shaped one shows up. All the little disc ones go inside that one, and it takes off. You know what they said? They said it was a sun pillar. That was like, this is what people say today. They didn't say that back then, and they actually had a newspaper at that time, like one of the first newspapers in the world, and it's happened over Nuremberg, Germany. And then artists wrote about it. I mean, they made wood carvings about it. It was a huge deal. So, do you actually think it was a sunspot? I can show you pictures of sun pillars. I've gotten quite a few as a photographer. They're beautiful, but it certainly doesn't look like an alien battle in the sky. That it doesn't look anything like that. Not even close. Not even close. So yeah, then they kind of put it up all on religion. You know, when people don't understand something, they shove it up to religion. They shove it up religion's butt, and they're like, it was God, angry God, or whatever happened to that forgiving one. Anyway, so let's go back. All right, this is so Skinwalker Ranch. This is just basically them putting themselves out there, trying to, this. It's not even an article, which is why I wanted to read it, because it shows you there's a financial end of it. You got to follow the money. There are people I know, hundreds of ghost hunters that are happy to help people out with their homes, who are legitimate paranormal investigators, and they don't charge $1, not even a dime, nothing. You know, so there's that. This is, when you get into the world of paranormal, no matter what the network, no matter who's putting it out, you definitely want legitimate people who are experienced, who know what they're talking about, when they're talking about it. You don't want to be embarrassed. Also, people who can constantly produce content. Yeah, that's not easy for Roto-Rooter guys. I mean, you really have to be somebody who's well versed, I think, anyway, or at least interesting, or at least funny. There is no paranormal comedy show. Really, there should be, because it is freaking funny, man. Freaking funny. I was gonna put out a paranormal workout video, like a ghost hunter workout. A lot of ghost hunters on the heavy side, you know. Put out paranormal snacks, what to have on a ghost hunt. You don't want to be eating cheese. It's bad for you, man. Floating around. I mean, anyway. So this is interesting to me. Are you ready? Last year, 2020, everybody's locked up inside, COVIDing, and it said that there was a UFO sightings spike during the lockdown. All right. So the year of the pandemic was also the year of the UFO. A massive statistical analysis shows that Americans in lockdown spend a lot of time eyeing the sky because you're bored. You've already done everything on the internet, resulting in across-the-board spike in UFO sightings. COVID-19 caused massive shifts in how Americans spend their time and where. Millions of people lost jobs, millions more worked from home. It meant that many had the time to gaze skyward. And what did we see? UFOs of every shape and every size, every color. Using data beginning in 2001, UFO researcher and author Cheryl Costa published the most detailed analysis of American UFO sighting reports ever assembled. The UFO Sightings Desk Reference. So you see, you got a desk reference now, man. During 2020, she expanded it, covered the next 20 years of sighting reports at almost every city. So she had the time to do that. Good for her. Phoenix is the number one city. Okay, second year in a row. New York City is number 2. I've never used to count. Used to count New York City's 5 boroughs. I attended the counties, and now we're counting them as a full city. Las Vegas is number 3 for sightings. Los Angeles is number 4. Number 6 is Portland. San Diego is number 10. Houston number 11, and Albuquerque number 13. Sacramento number 21 in the country. 23 is San Francisco. See, that doesn't surprise me, because number 1 in San Francisco, you wouldn't even know an alien in San Francisco. You know what I mean? Like, I'm saying, like, if you want to mix in as an alien, you want to be in San Francisco. But probably all the poop and the needles, the syringes all over the place would piss off your little alien feet as you're walking around. But Lubbock, Texas is 75. So you're not likely to see an alien. And that's interesting to me, because usually that anal probing is going on in like eastern Texas, Well, why do you think they would avoid Lubbock? You know, so Costa does not try to explain the sightings or claim they are alien craft, only that they're unidentified flying objects people have reported seeing. See, that's the thing too. I used to hang out, like my friend and I would chill out at JFK at the end of the runway and would just really hang out, get airplanes land over your head or take off. It's kind of a thrill. These big planes, they're not far above your head as they land. And there's a lot of stuff in the sky. There's a lot of planes in the sky. It's one of the, you got JFK, you got LaGuardia, you got Newark Airport, just to name three major airports right there in a tiny little congested area. So people are going to see things. The cities don't surprise me. And I don't believe it until I see it myself. I mean, people can tell me all kinds of blips and blops. I know what I saw at one time when I was looking out the window of my house. And it was interesting, and I had never seen anything move like it. The coloring of it and the way it moved through the sky when it finally took off, it was real smooth and like liquid, like shoom. But I looked out the window and I saw this thing. It was around like 12 something at night. Most of the air traffic in this region is done that time of night, or fairly done anyway. But this thing was like not moving a normal course, because I look at the sky a lot, so it wasn't moving like a normal course like what an airplane would do, flying from airport to airport and that type. This was going just north. And sure, it could be military, things like that, whatever. It just was interesting. I was looking at it, it caught my eye. At the same time, these two other planes, really fast blipping, markers on them, like the lights, like blah, 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 like definitely like military looking. Two of them together came from like the south, and they were like flying to intercept this thing. And then another one, just the same, was coming from more like the north and flying down, and all of them were converging. I have a huge, like an 80-mile view of the sky, but a huge view of the sky, literally. So here's these things converging, and this white light just took off. Like, whoosh, it was gone. Like literally, if you took a magic marker up on a board and just went zoop with your hand, it was just gone. So that thing took off. Those other planes flew around in circles for the next few minutes, 7, 8, 9 minutes. Two of them left. One of them stayed behind, who circled around for another 10, 15 minutes, whatever it was. And then he went back to where he came from. So tell me what that was all about, And it's more about interesting. So anyway, this woman who made this graph, she also categorized the sightings by shape. The shape people are reporting also come and go by the seasons, according to Costa. She said she was playing with the data, and they were thinking of writing a shapes book at that time when they started noticing like plotting like months, like a pattern. Okay. And then over many months, they started noticing that there was a repeating pattern. Sometimes a particular shape would only show up in the fall, show up in the spring, and then come back. So different shapes for different seasons, right? So that's great data as far as I'm concerned as a researcher. People who will like make these charts and graphs and whatever, and it's important because as people see these things and report in, they're going to be more like, hey, I saw this too, or I saw that cigar shape in the sky, or that disc, okay. So Cheryl Costa, she said what they've done is compiled all the UFO data from MUFON and NUFORC 2001 through 2020, a long time, man. And they've gone through, they cleaned up the spelling of the cities, they corrected the counties, and, just really, that's great work right there. They've been added latitude, longitude information. So, you know what? She made a roadmap for people, I think. And I'm looking at this graph. It's fantastic, man. So good for you. And then they're going to do 5 books on shapes, specializing shapes, just discovered during some of the shapes that they've seen. That's really interesting, the whole shapes of the season. So, but good. 3,100 counties represented, or county entities. Yeah. Anyway, so you can look that up. Check out Cheryl Costa if you want to look up your UFO map. You know, I'm not going to read you guys the whole interview with her, but that's really good work. You know, it's important to have that as an investigator. You know, same for ghost hunting. You know, I mean, there's a lot of theory out there, and there's a lot of things that people run into from time to time, and I think that we can all, you know, share information like that or start compiling it. You know, every situation is different, but some things can be linked up, and some things that we experienced, the cold blast of air, for instance, and why that exists. You know, or some, you know, if they're trying to manifest these spirits, you know, what happens in the room. I've heard all kinds of experience with lights. I've had experience with lights myself. You know, light bulb blowing out, that type of thing. So anyway, this is the real deal right here, because I know you when it comes to the military and the government, you know, they've held a lot of information back for a long time. Deservedly so, if they figured it was a matter of national security, or if people, the masses, couldn't handle the information that they had to give out, right? So here we go. Upcoming UFO report will be difficult to explain, former national intelligence official says. A former top intelligence official hinted that an upcoming government report on UFOs will include information that cannot be easily explained. There are instances when we don't have a good explanation for some of the things that we've seen, and when the information becomes declassified, I'll be able to talk a little bit more about that. So he's kind of sweetening the pot right there. He's like, well, if I say anything about it now, they're going to shove a nightstick up my ass and put me in Leavenworth. So, former Director National Intelligence John Ratcliffe told Fox News Media. So here's John Ratcliffe. I mean, that's a pretty big name, right? And this guy is saying, hey, we'll declassify this. I can come out with it. So, boom. The response to what he said is wow. You know, like this guy, he's talking about the real deal. And we have talked on this network for a long time about, you know, there are so many sightings and so much information coming out, so many reports being declassified, like there's going to be some kind of major announcement. Do you think if there was a major announcement, do you think that if people realized there was aliens, a higher life, not just one type, but many types, do you think that would bring humanity together if that was the case? What do you think? So, Ratcliffe said some UFO sightings have been declassified in the past, but a report to be released by the Pentagon and other federal agencies will present more information to the American people. There have been sightings all over the world, Ratcliffe said, and when we talk about sightings, the other thing I will tell you, it's not just a pilot or just a satellite or some intelligence collection. Usually we have multiple sensors that are picking these things up. Ratcliffe said elements that are hard to explain in unreleased sightings can include movements that are hard to replicate or traveling at speeds that exceed the sound barrier without creating a sonic boom. The report is expected to be released June 1st, and we can look forward to that. And, you know, we're getting closer. We're getting closer in. And, you know, they say, oh, yeah, mankind, we have that technology where we can go those speeds and do that. No, we don't. Are you kidding me? You know what we have. There's no secrets. Is there secrets? It's all on the internet. There's no secrets. I think everybody knows everything about everything about everything. So some people like it like that. I think that there shouldn't be secrets, that things should be shared, that we should work together as a world, right? So here's, I don't know. I think that at the end of the day, maybe that they want to use us like chickens or something, like, you know. So if, you know, obviously, because people have floated that idea, and I kind of laugh. I'm like, if aliens are eating people, then they don't eat much. You know what I mean? There's a lot of people out there. So, but this is big news about this information. And you had your planes chasing down those UFOs, and they were just zipping along, 80,000 feet down to the ocean, under the water. Didn't make a splash, going 500 knots under the water. Yeah, yeah, we've got stuff like that. Sure, the Staten Island Ferry could do that every day. you know, sure. So I don't know. Again, but I want to move on before we end the show. Yeah, we don't have a lot of time left, man. I want to talk about ghosts for a minute so you UFO freaks can tune away, man. All right. Is the White House haunted? So in 2009, the First Lady, Michelle Obama, told visiting school children that she and President Barack Obama sometimes hear strange noises in the hallway at night. Yeah, it was the ghosts of the past presidents screaming in agony for what Obama was doing to the White House. Ha! All right. That's my political rant for the show tonight. So, at other times, some Obama family members felt like something was gnawing or chewing at their feet. It's probably their dog. Folklorist Deborah Latini Shatika, who knows a thing or two about ghost stories, thinks the specter of a long dead White House pet might be responsible for the nipping of people's feet, and she wouldn't be surprised if the Obamas heard from the White House's most popular ghost, President Abraham Lincoln. Lincoln was probably pooping a brick at what was going on, all the deceit. He's sitting there listening to all these secret private deals, screwing people over, pooping bricks. He probably pooped enough bricks to build a whole nother White House. Ghost bricks. I imagine that President Lincoln was really proud to have an African American family in the White House after the sacrifices he made. That's the official story. Says Latanzi Shatika, an associate professor of George Mason University. But as far as the unexplained sounds and feelings, I would chalk that up there to just being spiritual energy in the house. How do you know it's not the ghost of JFK? You know, a lot of them. Marilyn Monroe, she's probably in there romping around. Obamas don't want to think about that. Black people are very superstitious, man. I have a lot of friends who are black people. I can't even talk about my ghost hunting business with them. Like, they don't want to hear it. They don't want to know about it. And it's a racist statement. It is the truth, man. You know what? That's fine. Because especially people, when people are very religious, man, they kind of look at it as the occult, or like I have friends who are Muslims. They think it's all just demons. That and same thing for a lot of religions, that if there's ghosts haunting around, that they haven't gone to heaven, so then they're damned or something like this or whatever. But the Obamas, they don't want to think of like the other end of it, that they pissed off the spirits. So, but Obamas aren't the sole White House occupants to report strange happenings. Jenna Bush, the daughter of President George Bush, of course, he named his girls after porno stars, who served from 2001 to 2009, said she and her twin sister, Barbara, once heard 1920s piano music coming from the fireplace in their bedroom. The fireplace is playing music, Jenna. Oh, just shut up and go to sleep already. And Ronald Reagan, president from 1981 to 1989, told the story of how his dog barked frantically at the entrance of the Lincoln bedroom and refused to go inside. Reagan's daughter and son-in-law also reported seeing an apparition in the room. Famed British leader Winston Churchill also claimed to see Lincoln's ghost when he stayed in the Lincoln bedroom. Lincoln, who was assassinated in 1865, never slept in the chamber, but he did use it as an office. It has really, well, it has this really been known as the bed that called your name out, like the Lincoln bedroom, and people are calling their name out. Is Lincoln, get out of my office. Last time I knew, I was in the theater. What are you doing here? Some tall, scary Lincoln. I know people who have seen apparitions right in their face, man, and it wasn't like some beauty queen either. It's some scary stuff. And the dog too. Animals are sensitive, man. The dog barking his head off, at some freaky thing going on. I lived up in the Adirondacks. I just stayed up there for like 6 months and rented out this townhouse, haunted like you wouldn't believe. It was the old town home. People went there to die, And then before that, it was for a crazy asylum. They used to lock people up in the basement, like to the wall, chain them to the wall, and starve them out. Man, it's crazy. It was up in the Adirondacks, man, in Warrensburg. So, and everyone there knew the place was haunted because people heard ghosts, saw ghosts, felt ghosts. I could talk for hours about my experiences there. And in the first, I was in this big stone house, and my cat at the time, I had two cats. Neither of them would go into my bedroom. The door would just, I'd be sitting there on the bed. It was a very unsettling feeling in that room. It was a horrible feeling. And one night I was on the phone with my friend Jay, and we were talking, and the door moved by itself, and it was like this big, heavy wooden door. There was nothing behind it on either side. The door moved by itself about 6 inches. And I said, "Can you move it back? Can you move the door back?" And the door went back 6 inches. I was like, yo, Jay, this place is haunted, man. And you really felt like you were being watched the whole time. And then I moved into the townhouse portion, which was across the parking lot. And that place, man, you just felt like it was a better energy, a good energy. My mom came up with her boyfriend at the time, and he was like a real jerk. And then he was going out one door, we were going out the other. He had like a horrible attitude. I didn't want him around. I couldn't stand him. Somebody pushed his ass out the door, slammed the door, and locked it behind him. He told my mom that I did it. And I was going out the door with her on the other side of the townhouse. I couldn't possibly, not that I wouldn't do it, I couldn't possibly have done it. So that gave me a good feeling. I felt like the people there were looking out for me, man. I like that. I did, at that time, I didn't know all the history until years later when I looked it up because I had such experiences there. But that's the deal. The White House is haunted. Of course it is. Of course it is. Look at all the experiences people have, man. But all right. But with Lincoln, the guy's like, the one he's like, this makes a lot of sense. He was assassinated before his time. It was dramatic. It was at the conclusion of the Civil War, right before the Reconstruction. So yeah, man, Lincoln. Is that weird? What do you think Lincoln would do, man? Like, you think it's like a nasty haunting? It doesn't sound like it. I think he just doesn't want people in his office. Maybe they should just like lock it off, not make it a bedroom anymore. Anyway, I do believe the White House is haunted, and I think that it's got a long sort of history. A lot of people died in and around there. A lot of people died because of it, and whatever, man. And if you know Washington D.C., and now that Mason's laid it out, as for energy wise, and the White House is like right there as a spike for it. So who knows? Only the shadow knows. So anyway, I hope you enjoy the show, man. Next week we're gonna have more of a format, of these news stories, and there's so many to choose from. It's a lot of fun, I think, to talk about the paranormal headlines, because this is what's happening in the here and now. It's not happening years ago. It's not in the past. It's like this week, So anyway, I'm going to end the show on that note for the paranormal news. And Michael Angley, I will see you guys. Of course, check out the website, which is really the Facebook right now, www.paranormalnews.us. And you will find us there. Join us. Join us on this quest for the paranormal on United Public Radio Network, UPRNTalkRadio.com, 107.5 New Orleans, 104.7 in Paris Christian. And I will say good night to you all.